Everybody, my name is Tim Roswick, and today we're going to talk about something that applies to game development. It applies to life. It applies to business. It applies to relationships and communication. It applies to a whole bunch of stuff, different stuff like that. And occasionally we talk about stuff like that on the channel, and today is no exception. So I want to talk about punishing people for the truth because I feel like this is something that a lot of us do without knowing it. I know I used to do it a ton. Sometimes I still struggle with it, so I'm trying to get better at it. But basically, if someone tells you something that you don't like or you don't want to hear, or it's not the same thing as being rude, but just tells you something that maybe upsets you a little bit, taking it out on them or shooting the messenger, as they call it, is not a good thing, because it makes people not want to tell you stuff. And it's not just messengers. It's not just people that are delivering messages. It's anybody in your life. And I think this applies to game development specifically because the part where we hear stuff that we don't want to hear is when we send our builds to our testers, right? When someone actually gets the opportunity to test your game and they say, it's not fun, I notice this a lot on Feedback Fridays. When I'll say something, I'll say, the controls don't feel right. I don't like the controls. And a lot of times the people will defend their decision rather than take the feedback. It happens all the time. And it's something that I used to do too. People can take meanings from things that aren't really there. So if I say, I don't like this thing that you created, depending on the type of person, they can feel guilty because they wasted time. They can feel angry because I insulted something they created. They can feel sad because someone doesn't like what they made. They can feel insecure because for whatever reason, that's just something they do. And it depends on the person, how that gets taken. But either way, it can be a punishment for being honest, for just telling the truth. And I know a lot of times relationships have this issue too, where someone will tell their spouse something, or their significant other something that obviously they're not going to want to hear, right? And rather than celebrating that honesty and saying, thank you for telling me that, I appreciate that, I'm glad that you were honest about it, they get punished for telling the truth. So that reinforces the behavior of not telling the truth, or not sharing that stuff, or keeping details out, right? It's especially when jealousy and stuff like that is involved. So there's a lot of issues where I think this applies. But my message to everybody today is just to kind of pay attention to how you respond to things, especially stuff that makes you somewhat vulnerable, right? Like when you give somebody your game and they play it, or you show somebody a project, or you share a secret in life with somebody, and they respond in a way that maybe you don't want them to respond, try and listen. Try and think about why, rather than react or defend your decision or do any of that. I always try and understand where the other person is coming from, because it's really, really, really important. And follow-up questions are super important too. It's something that a lot of people overlook. They don't ask anything. They just either defend their decision or back off and go silent. And you can ask follow-up questions too, like, what makes you say that? How so? Can you elaborate on that? Things like that can kind of help you understand the whole deal a little bit more. So punishing for people for the truth is just something that I've seen a lot, and in feedback specifically, it's kind of toxic, because if someone's trying to give you feedback and you're getting upset, that makes them less likely to want to give you feedback, right? If someone tries to give you feedback and you get sad, that makes them less likely to give you feedback. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you just say, thank you, I appreciate that, you can reinforce that behavior by, appreciating the truth, appreciating the feedback, rather than having an emotional reaction to it. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's just something that in life I think has served me well to kind of pay attention to that, because it's kind of opened up a lot of opportunities. And a lot of people that I've surrounded myself in my life they feel like they can be open and honest with me, and I'm not going to bite their head off for telling me something I don't like. I'm not going to yell at them. I'm not going to throw them under the bus for anything like that. And it's just something that has served me well. So that's my message for today. I hope you found it useful. If you did, leave me a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Have you ever punished somebody for the truth? Have you ever, done something that you regret like that? Let me know your thoughts down below. Would love to hear from you. My name is Tim Ruswick, and I will see you again tomorrow.